Yeah. So if you have any doubts, I'll clarify at the end of the session. Okay. So whatever I want to explain, first let me explain. In first 1 hour, I'll try to explain whatever I want to explain. And after 1 hour, the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll clarify all your doubts. Okay. Because it's an online session, we can't directly go for an interactive session. Interactive, I'll make it when we complete the first 1 hour. Okay. Yeah, so in today's class, what we are going to do is, so we are going to discuss something like what are the various data types available in OData ABAP services. What are the various data types available in OData ABAP services? So that is one of the topic I want to explain. After that, I want to explain what are the various T codes available, various transaction codes and tools used in SAP, UI5 or Fiori or OData, whatever. So what are the various transaction codes and tools used in UI5, Fiori, OData services? Transaction codes and tools. So that I'm going to cover. And then I'm going to explain what are the various CRUD operations. Various CRUD operations in OData ABAP services. Okay. And then we'll try to understand how to create an entity type, an entity, and entity set in OData ABAP services. So these are the 4 topics we'll try to cover for today. It will be more of like theory. So mostly after 2 or 3 classes, we are going to start with practical part. So next two classes may be more of like theory part. After that, we'll start with our practical part as well. So coming to various data types. So SAP has provided some different data types at OData service level. You can get the data from any SAP system, but the data will be retrieved through OData concept here. So OData is nothing but open data. One second. So OData is nothing but open data. And here, OData ABAP service. OData ABAP service is nothing but open data ABAP services. We call it as open data services. To say is as part of OData services, we implement ABAP database operations. Remember that. As part of OData ABAP services, the main theme of services is just to implement our ABAP database operations. Whatever ABAP database is inside OData ABAP service development. And most importantly, I can say OData ABAP services can be consumed as front-end technologies like SAP UI5, or it can be SAP Fiori, or it can be a PHP or .NET or whatever. .NET or whatever. It can be any front end, but our OData services can allow you to perform database operations. OData web services will help you to perform database operations, and these OData services can be consumed from any type of front end, mostly like UI5, Fiori, PHP, .NET, even other thought applications developed on Java as well. So in our course, first we are going to deal with OData services, OData web services. So mainly we are going to implement database operations itself. But before implementing OData ABAP services, you need to know some different data types. So let me write that now. Various data types in OData ABAP services. So first, better to know these things. OData ABAP service data types are also known as EDM data types. OData ABAP service data types, technically we call it as EDM data types. What do you mean by EDM here? That is nothing but entity data model. It is nothing but entity data model. So under OData ABAP services, we call the data types as EDM data types. So for example, you can see here, hello students, can you hear me and can you see my screen properly?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, let me proceed.
Yes.
So OData ABAP service data types are nothing but, we call it as EDM data types, that is nothing but entity data model data types. So first data type is EDM dot binary. That is one of the data type supported by OData services. And this is nothing but it is going to allow fixed or variable length binary data type. Fixed or variable length binary data. So that is going to be allowed if your field is having EDM.binary as a data type. It is going to allow fixed or it can allow variable length data which is of binary data. So please notice that. And similarly, there is one more data type like EDM.boolean. EDM.boolean, that is a very common data type, and this is for representing binary value logic, something like true or false. It is for true or false. And similarly, we have EDM.byte. One of the data type we have, and that is nothing but unsigned 8-bit integer. We call it as unsigned 8-bit integer value. Byte means 8 bits. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So this is an unsigned 8-bit integer value. Similarly, we have like EDM dot date time. EDM dot date time. So that is another data type for date and time values. This is for date and time values. And similarly, there is one more data type like EDM dot decimal. EDM dot decimal, and this will allow numeric values. This will allow numeric values. This is date and time, not data. It is date and time. I have corrected. You can see that. Date and time, it will allow date and time values, and EDM dot decimal, it will allow numeric values with fixed precision and scale. And similarly, there is one more data type like EDM dot double. EDM dot double. So that is going to allow floating point with 15 digits precision. It is going to allow floating point number with 15 digits precision. And similarly, we have EDM dot float. EDM dot float is another data type, but it is also a floating point number. It also allows floating point number, but with only 7 digits precision. With only 7 digits precision. Precision means after dot digits or after dot you can have 7 digits. After a numeric value, you can have dot 15 digits or dot 7 digits. That is how double and float will be used. And then EDM dot something like int 16 is one of the data type. And EDM dot int 32 is another data type. And EDM dot int 64. So these are the integer related data types here. Int 16, int 32, int 64. So let me give you some basic idea. It is going to support a signed 16-bit integer value. It is going to support 16-bit signed integer value. And this is going to support signed 32-bit integer value. And there is one more. So it is going to support signed 64-bit integer value. And there is one more, let me write that here. EDM.SByte. SByte is another data type. SByte is another data type, so that is going to support signed 8-bit integer value. So let me write somewhere here. So that is 8-bit, and this will be 16-bit, then 32-bit, then 64-bit. So that will help you easily to recognize. SByte is 8-bit integer value, int 16 is 16-bit integer value, int 32 is 32-bit integer value, and 64, int 64 is 64-bit integer value. So as the number of bits increases, the value what you can accommodate, that can also increase. As the number of bits increasing, the maximum range also will increase. Please remember that. There are few more. EDM dot something like single. EDM dot single, so it is going to support floating point number just with 7 digits precision. And then very commonly used, that is EDM dot string. Very commonly used, that is EDM dot string, and it supports fixed or variable length character data. It supports fixed or variable length character data. Very commonly used. And one more field, one more data type, EDM dot something like time. EDM dot time, so it is split time of day. It is to accommodate time of day with values ranging from 0, 0, 0, then 00 dot x to 23 hour, 59th minute, then 59th second. Something like that. 23rd hour, 59th minute, 59th second. So that is how this EDM dot time by default, it will work in 24-hour format. EDM dot time will generally work in 24-hour format. So these are the data types that are used inside our OData services. These data types are not exactly ABAP data types. ABAP data types names are slightly different. Please notice that. The general ABAP data types, those general ABAP data types names will be slightly different. But these are the data types which are used inside OData service level. Don't think that these are ABAP data types. These are OData service data types. That's the reason why we are calling them as EDM data types. So these are not ABAP data types, but they are OData ABAP data types. OData data types are nothing but entity data model data types. So we are going to use all these different data types in different examples, but these are the list of data types which we have. So this is a list of the data types which we have. We are going to use it in the coming classes. And then there are some transaction codes and there are some tools which we need to know. There are some transaction codes and there are some tools which we need to know before we proceed to the part. So let me write that. Transaction codes and tools used in something like OData ABAP services, SAP UI5 or SAP Fiori, whatever. Overall, I'm going to write the list of those things. So one of the main T code is SEGW. That's a main T code. And there are some other T codes like IWFND/GW client. That is another T code. /IWFND/GW client. That's another T code. Similarly, /IWFND/error log. error log. That's another T code we are going to use. And we can also make use of IWFND slash apps underscore log and slash IWFND slash something like view log. These are all T codes. And slash IWFND slash something like cache cleanup. Cache cleanup. So definitely we are going to understand. So in different situations you will understand different T codes and different options, but these are the list of the things which you need to know before we proceed. And similarly, we have slash IWFND slash traces. Slash IWFND slash traces. FND means front end. FND means front end. Please notice that. But these are the T code names. There is no specific full form for this. These are just the T code names. And then we have slash IWFND slash SRV validate. And slash IWFND slash something like REG underscore service. And slash IWFND slash something like maintain underscore service. And slash IWFND slash virus scan. Virus scan. And there is one more T code like SICF is an administration T code. Some T codes we may use directly. Some T codes are used under administration level, but you need to know what is what. Some T codes are directly used by developers. Some T codes are used by administrator, but as a developer, so it's better to know all these T codes so that your troubleshooting becomes easy. Troubleshooting, when you face a problem in real time, your troubleshooting becomes easy when you know some of the administration related T codes as well. And there is one more thing like RZ20 and something like SPRO, PFCG, ST22 and LPD underscore cust. LPD underscore cust is also one of the T code. Then we have one more T code like slash UI5 slash theme tool and slash UI5 slash theme designer. These are also T codes. Theme tool, theme designer, these are also the T codes which we use in our course in the coming classes. And not only that, slash UI5 slash repository load. Better to notice this also. This is also one of the option. Repository load is one of the option. And then SE24 and SE11, these are general things. SE11, SE16, these are general. And in case of front-end development, we are going to use tools mainly like Eclipse with SAP UI5 plugins. We are going to use Eclipse tool with SAP UI5 plugins. And in our course, we are going to use even SAP Web ID tool. So these are the two important tools, and all the above are the transaction codes. These are the transaction codes, and last two options are tools. All these are transaction codes, and last two are the tools, Eclipse tool and Web ID tool. So better to notice these things as well, because in different situations I may use different T code. And not only that, let us understand what are the general database operations we have. Let me give some basic idea here. You can see something like OData app operation. We can have HTTP method, and we can have something like in terms of ABAP, we write some coding. OData operation, HTTP method, and in terms of ABAP. You need to compare these three things. So in OData ABAP service, what we do is we try to make use of a create method. We are going to use like create method or create entity method. But when we are using create entity method in OData, then at HTTP level, we have to use post operation here. At OData level, you may write some code in create entity method. But in terms of HTTP, we have to use post operation. And as an ABAPer, to handle this post operation or to handle create entity method, generally we use insert statement. We generally use insert statement. So insert statement is a statement as an ABAPer we write to handle post operation inside create entity method. Insert statement we write inside create entity method to handle post operation, that is for creating a record or inserting a new record. And similarly, there is a read operation that is nothing but we try to make use of something like get entity method. When we write some code in get entity method, then we execute our service with get operation. And as a developer, we generally write our select single stars type of statement. So here it will fetch single record if you write the code in get entity method. If you write code in get entity method, then it will fetch single record, but that is nothing but a read operation. And similarly, there is one more read operation that is nothing but get entity set is another method. Get entity set is another method. So to handle that at HTTP level, again we use get method or get operation. But as a developer, just you can write your select statement to fetch multiple records. As a developer, you can write your select statement to fetch multiple records. So this also comes under read operation. And similarly, we are going to have something like update entity method. At OData level, we have update entity method. And to update a record. We write the code in update entity method, and under HTTP level, we use put operation. We use put operation to handle update entity functionality. So as an ABAPer, we can write just an update statement. As an ABAPer, you can write your update statement in OData service. These are all statements which you can mainly focus. And similarly, we have something like delete entity method. Delete entity method, and at HTTP level, we call it as delete method, and as a ABAPer, we can write our delete statement. As an ABAPer, we write our delete statement. And similarly, we can use something like function import. We have a concept like function import, and that is to handle custom operations. I'll discuss in detail, don't worry, but it is to handle custom operations. And this function import is going to support get, and it also supports post. Function import is for handling custom operations, but it is going to support get as well as post. I mean to say, you can write your select statement, or you can write your something like insert statement here. And similarly, we have one more method like create underscore stream. Create underscore stream is another method. So here we use again post operation, and this is to handle, or this is to insert a file. You can insert a file, or I can say you can upload a file to database table. By using create stream method, we can insert a file or upload a file into database table. And similarly, let me write those things here. Something like get stream. So we use get operation here. Get stream, we use get operation here, and this is to download, or I can say it is to select a file or download a file. GetStream is a method to handle the download functionality of a file. From database table, we can download the file by using GetStream method. Similarly, we have one more method like update stream. Update stream, so we use put operation, and this is to update a file in database table. That is to update the file content inside the database table. And similarly, we have something like delete underscore stream. And this will handle delete statement, and this is to delete a file from database table by our data service. And we have one more method like execute action. Execute underscore action, that is a method, and it can handle both get as well as post. That means it can handle select statement as well as it can handle insert statement. So don't worry, in different examples, I'm going to use different methods. But the left-hand side methods, whatever I wrote, they are very common. The left hand side I wrote create entity, get entity set, update entity, delete entity. So left hand side options, they are very commonly used in OData service development. So similarly, there is one more method like get expanded entity. Get expanded entity, so it is to handle getter operation, it is to handle get method, and it can get a record. You can select a record based on specific, you can get a record based on specific field or specific ID. And there is one more method like get expanded entity set. Get expanded entity set, so that can handle get operation, and you can select item records based on specific header record. You can fetch item records based on specific header record. So that is possible. We don't have entity set methods, update entity set, we don't have like that. Okay, whatever methods I wrote, they are the methods available. And these are the general methods which we use in our OData service development. These are the general methods which we use in our OData service development. And there may be some more methods, but that is used by the framework. So some methods will be used by developer, some methods are used by the framework to execute the service. For example, you can see, for example, there is a method like, let me go here. One second, let me go to one of the option. You can see there will be several methods. There will be several methods like this. But what I mean to say is some methods are used by developer and some methods are used by the framework in order to execute the service. For example, operation start, operation end. There are some methods like that, clean up. There are some methods like that, so that is used by the framework itself. So let me write a simple note here. Among all the methods of OData ABAP service, some of the methods are used by developer for implementing the service, and some of the methods are used by framework. Remember that, for executing the service. So please notice that. So don't think every method is related to a developer. So some of the methods are related to developer, some of the methods are taken care by framework itself for executing the service. Let me repeat, some methods are used by developer for implementing the service. Some methods are used by developer for implementing the service, and some methods are used by framework for executing the service. So please remember that. And whatever the methods I wrote here, these are the developer related methods. You are going to write the code. That means we are going to write the code under these methods to implement our functionalities. The methods which I wrote in a table, so those methods we are going to use as a developer for implementing our functionalities. So please notice that. But first of all, I am repeating, some people may be new to this particular class, but the only thing that you need to understand here is under OData ABAP services, we implement ABAP database operations. Please remember that. Those who are new to this particular class, just under OData ABAP service, what we do is we implement our ABAP database operations here. Under OData ABAP service, we implement ABAP database operations. But under SAP UI5 or under Fiori, what we are going to do? We try to design the screens. We design the screens. So that is very, very important. Last 2 points are very important as far as new people are concerned. So that means database operations. That means database operations will be in ABAP, but the screens will be in UI5 and Fiori. Let me repeat. In our technology, database operations will be in ABAP, but the screens will be in terms of UI5 and Fiori. So the last 2 points are very important. Please notice that. And so in our course, now first 15 classes or first 14 to 15 classes, I'll discuss more about OData ABAP services. After that, we'll go UI5 and Fiori. So when we go for OData ABAP services, there are 3 important terms which you need to notice. Three important terms in OData ABAP services. One is entity type, another is entity, third one is entity, and second one is entity, third one is entity set. So these are the 3 important words which you need to notice, and total OData service depends on mainly these 3 words. OData ABAP services mainly depends on 3 words: entity type, entity, and entity set. So now let me give one simple diagram so that everyone will come to same stage. So in our OData services, we are going to use like fields like ID, some name, and for example salary. ID, name, salary, for example. So the collection of fields which are required for our OData development, those fields we generally place it as part of, we place this collection of fields as part of an entity type. Collection of fields we maintain as part of entity type. Please notice that. Let's check. But let us understand one more point here. By using these fields, we can maintain or we can hold a single record. We can hold a single record here. by using those fields. Single record. So technically holding a single record, we generally call that as an entity. So it can hold single record. Technically, we call it as entity in our data service. Entity type contains only just collection of fields with data types. But entity contains fields with single record only at a time. And similarly, we can store collection of records. We can store collection of records now, for example, 1001 Vijay and 2000, 1002 Ajay and something like 3000, and 1003 and something like Suman, for example, 4000. So we can maintain or we can hold collection of records like this. We can hold collection of records in our OData service by using something like an entity set. Very, very important words before we proceed further. So, entity set. Entity set is a word, generally we use it to hold collection of records. Please notice that. It is just to hold collection of records. And let me tell you here. So if you compare with normal ABAP, I can say entity type just like your structure. Entity type is just like your structure. And according to normal ABAP, I can say entity is nothing but it's like work area. You can treat it like work area. And then entity set, technically, in terms of normal ABAP, we generally compare with internal table. We generally compare with internal table. So these are the three important words we are going to use in the next 2 weeks in our OData services. And before we develop our OData services, you need to know some important things here. As part of OData ABAP services, we can implement or we can use all ABAP statements. Very, very, very important. As part of OData ABAP services, we can use all ABAP statements except GUI screen related statements. Very important. Please notice this. When we are developing OData ABAP services, we can use all ABAP statements. Whatever you have learned till today in normal ABAP, you can use it in our OData services, but except the screen related statements. Why we don't use screen related statements with ABAP? Because we are going to avoid ABAP screens and we are going to develop UI5 screens. We are going to develop Fiori screens, but not ABAP screens. That's the reason why we should not use ABAP screen related statements. according to this latest technology, our screens will be designed in UI5, screens will be designed in Fiori. That's the reason why in OData services, we don't use ABAP screens or ABAP screen related statements. Because screens are designed in SAP UI5 or Fiori. That's the reason why we don't use ABAP screen related statements here. So please notice that. For example, think like this. For example, think like this. You can use a select statement because it is a general statement. You can use it in OData service. And you can use select statement with where clause. It's a general statement. You can use it in OData service. And you can use select statement with inner join. That is possible. Because it's a general statement. It's not related to a screen. So you can use ABAP select statement in OData service. And most importantly, we can use something like select statement with left outer join. Or you can use select statement with for all entries. You can use select statement with for all entries in OData services. And of course, you can use insert statement, delete statement, update statement, modify statement, and then we can use something like modify statement, delete statement, and we can use like read table statement, and we can also use like sorting statement. We can use sort statement, and then we can use move corresponding. So whenever required, wherever required in OData services, we can use all these operations. So move corresponding, sort statement, read table statement, these are all general operations, so you can implement in OData services. And similarly, you can use like this. For example, work area related operations, you can use it because they are general. And we can use internal table operations. You can use it because they are general. And of course, you can use if and if statements in OData services. Do, end do, and you can use like case, end case, and you can use something like loop, end loop statement. You can use field symbols whenever necessary because they are general operations. And not only that, we can use data dictionary, complete data dictionary we can use like tables, then table types, then structures, and we can use like domains, data elements. These are general, so you can use it in OData ABAP services, etc., etc. You can use it. Not only data dictionary, you can use your systems. We can use our system variables like psi index, psi sub C, then psi language, then psi dbcnt, and psi uzeit, and psi tab index, and psi uname, etc. So we can use almost all system variables as long as it is not related to a screen related statement. And not only that, we can use like string operations like concatenate, We can use string operations like concatenate, condense, replace, translate, shift, and split. These are all general operations, so you can use it. Shift, comma, split. They are general operations, so you can use it in OData service development. And one more thing, let me tell you here. So these are the things, and you can use like call function statement. Call function statement in order to access a function module, or in order to access a BAPI, or in order to access an RFC. We can use a call function statement to access function module, RFC, or a BAPI inside OData services. All syntaxes remain same. So these are all generally used because these are general statements. These are commonly used in OData services whenever required, wherever required. But let me tell you some of the things which we cannot use. These are the statements. These are the ABAP statements which can be used in OData ABAP service development. Whatever I wrote as of now, they are the ABAP statements which can be used in OData ABAP service development. But there are some statements which you cannot use. Even if you use, it won't work. For example, let me write here, ABAP statements which cannot be used. OData ABAP services. ABAP statements which cannot be used in OData ABAP service development. For example, call screen number 200. So this type of statements are not allowed. Because we don't develop ABAP screen, we are going to use Fiori screen or a UI5 screen. So we don't use ABAP screen. So call screen 200, generally we don't use. Even if use, it won't work. And call transaction, for example, VA01. Call transaction VA01, we can't use that directly. We have other techniques, but this statement, call transaction, directly we can't use. We have other techniques. So call transaction is a screen related statement here. And not only that, write statement, we can't use it. uline and vline and at line selection, these are all screen related statements. At line selection in ABAP, it is a screen related statement, so you cannot use in OData development. And at selection screen, or selection screen is a statement, so you can't use it because we are not developing ABAP screens. We are going to develop UI5 Fiori screen, so these statements are not applicable in OData development. And for example, you can see something like selection screen, and you can see select -options. That statement you cannot use directly. Select -options, you can't use directly in OData development. And similarly, you can see sy- line selected, LISEL, line selected. sy-lisel, that is for capturing the selected line. So it will capture the selected line from ABAP screen. So we don't use it in normal ABAP and in OData development. This is a system variable to capture the selected line from ABAP screen. So we can't use it in OData ABAP development. Similarly, S5-LSIND, list index. S5-LSIND, that is to capture the list index of ABAP screen. So ABAP screen statements we can't use in OData development. So etc. etc. Anything related to ABAP screens we can't use it in OData because this technology purpose is to avoid the ABAP screens, because ABAP screens are not good at performance, not good at appearance, and they can't be loaded through mobile device. We can't load ABAP screen through mobile device. So that's the reason why we are going to bypass these ABAP statements in terms of screens. But we use ABAP statements in terms of database operations. So the last note which I am writing today that is going to play a vital role, please remember this. In OData ABAP services, we use only ABAP statements. We use only general ABAP statements, except screen related statements. Except screen related statements. So why it is like this? Why we don't use ABAP screens? Let me write a question so that you can easily understand now. So why we don't use ABAP screen statements? So let me give in terms of a solution. The answer here is ABAP screens are not good at performance. And ABAP screens are, this is not my own theory, it is a concept given by SAP itself, and these are the complaints received from various clients. This is not my assumption, these are the options given by SAP, and these are the things that are received from various clients in the form of complaints. That's the reason why for them they want to give a different solution in the form of UI5 and theory. ABAP screens are not good at appearance. So already I discussed in our demo class. And ABAP screens are heavyweight screens. They are heavyweight screens. So loading time is more. And the very most important point is ABAP screens are not compatible with internet. ABAP screens are not compatible with internet, so that is also one main reason here. And ABAP screens are not accessible, not at all accessible from a mobile device, or it cannot be accessed from a tablet. So these are some of the reasons. So these reasons will help you to understand why we go for UI5 and theory. Okay, so please remember this. Because of these reasons, we don't use ABAP screens, and that's the reason why we don't use ABAP screen statements. That's the reason why we don't use ABAP screen statements in OData services. So please notice that. Okay, students, so I'll stop for today. Tomorrow we'll proceed further and slowly we'll go in detail into these things. Okay. And I'll come one by one to you so that you can ask your doubts. I'll come one by one. Yeah, Venkat.